it keeps me open to receiving more information, because the more that I know, the more I know what I don't know. So I'm like, damn, Anthony and Dennis can teach me something. Let me grab whatever they have to feed me. I'm gonna put in my tool belt, and then I'm gonna give them something to put in their tool belt. And now we having what they call a fellowship, because a ship brings things to and from, and we're all fellows, so we're having a fellowship. If the parts on my ship don't connect to the parts on your ship, we can't have a partnership. If the things on my ship don't work with the things on your ship, we can't worship together. Worship. So it's all there, right? When we really start to really look at how this thing is been manipulated, it's like it's almost laughable, man. It's laughable. You know how you can laugh so much till you cry? That's what it is. It's like, damn, these motherfuckers are a genius, and that's funny as shit. It's like, God damn, they killing the people.
We're live. What's up, brother?
What's happening? How you doing?
I'm good, man. So today's episode on the podcast, we have a former NFL football player. He was on 12 professional football teams, I should say. And so before we bring him on, you and I were just bullshitting about the movie National Champion. Mm-hmm. And it basically gets into right before the national championship game in college football, the star quarterback, I think his name is LaMarcus James in the movie, he basically comes out and he says he is going to boycott playing in the national championship because his college roommate and the thousands of other college athletes that are done playing are going to go. They don't have any health insurance. They're not making any money yet. That national championship game will net $600 million or something crazy like that. And then he goes through and he tells the salaries of all these, the head of the the Big Five conferences. This is what his head coach is making. This is what the head of the NCAA college football is making. And they're boycotting the game. So that was just a trailer for it. And we said we needed to go and watch this. We had a big discussion on Saturday night, me, you, and my son Denny, who plays high school football, about this idea of paying college athletes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start there, which is what are your thoughts around that?
I mean, first of all, what I love about that movie is the power, the power that people have with groups as a collective. Like when we can come together and we want to make change, you can do that when you have those numbers, because we are the product and the players are the product. They're the ones bringing in that money, right? They're the ones, people are watching them for that reason. If they decided tomorrow that none of us are going to show up, they don't have anything to show. No one's going to make money on that. And money talks real loud. And when they realize the power that they have, and that's why that seems so amazing. And when you can get enough people to do that, it's like, shit,
right.
You could do some serious damage.
Absolutely, and that's the reason I wanted to start there was we could start talking to our guest about that topic, about his thoughts around compensating college athletes, and maybe not just in NFL or just in college football or basketball, across the board, what that might look like. So our guest today, his name is Stevie Baggs Jr. He is the author of the books Woke and Greater Than the Game. He did some acting on the TV show Ruthless. He did a guest appearance on Cobra Kai, which is, I love that. Anytime we could bring Daniel LaRusso and Miyagi and Johnny into it, we're absolutely going to do that. He is on the show The Game. He is on the TV series The Underground Railroad. He played in the NFL and in the CFL. He played for 12 professional football teams in 10 or 11 years. Please welcome to the Building Men podcast, Stevie Baggs Jr. Stevie, what's up, my man? How's it going?
Doing well, Anthony. Peace and power, man, to you guys. Dennis.
No, our pleasure, man. And I'll tell you, we first of all, your arms are bigger than my legs, and I'm a big dude. I'm 6'4", 225, and
you can't fit in the screen, damn. Stevie. This is like we're gonna need a bigger.
Jesus.
We should have got a fucking pump in or something before. Yeah, we knew who we were having on.
Should have done some workout before we got on.
Listen, I just got off the bike, man. I did it 23 miles. I'm addicted to riding the road bike now, man. It's like my new hobby, and I've been doing it now for about since 2015. But seriously, for the last 3 years, and it changed my life. So I didn't live today either, man. Not yet.
You're trying to make us feel worse. Is that's
Right,
what you're doing?
exactly.
I see.
We need to go back to the house and do a
I know.
workout.
I'm bringing dumbbells in here,
Next
so
time
we
we
can
got to do
fucking.
that. So Stevie, you and I had an opportunity to connect a couple weeks back. I heard you on the All Shift podcast with Anthony Trucks. That's one of my go-to podcasts. Who, coincidentally enough, Anthony will be on the Building Men podcast in about a month or so. Someone that I always look to for inspiration. And I hear you on All Shift, and I said I need to connect with Stevie. I need to get him on the podcast. So you and I talked on the phone for about an hour. And as soon as the conversation was over, I said to my brother, I'm like, this dude is legit. We're going to absolutely love this conversation with Stevie. So truly appreciate you being here, my man.
Bro, it's a pleasure to be here and to connect with like minds. And really, I want to salute you and your brother for having a platform for men to be able to talk and share their own truths,
Yep.
right? And for us to be totally vulnerable and free to express what it is that we deal with as men. You know, I don't care what your ethnicity is. We have some similarities that we have to unpack, that we are confronted with on a daily basis. So no, thank you all for having me again, and I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's really dope to be connected to people who are a part of the collective, right? And what I mean by the collective, the conscious collective, and people who don't just understand but overstand and understand that the establishment has given us misinformation and misunderstanding of what life is really truly supposed to be about. And so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so let's start with that understanding. So you said understand, overstand, understand. Talk to us a little bit about what you mean by that comment or those comments.
Well, I'm very much so into etymology, and as you mentioned, my book Woke, it's a dictionary for the conscious mind, and what I unpack in that book is etymology, linguistics, and semantics, which we all recognize that the power of the words that we speak and that we've been taught to speak will help manifest certain things in our lives. So the people who walk around saying they're broke every day, they're broke. You know, people who are saying I'm sick, it's like, well, yeah, you're going to end up staying sick. And so consequently, once you unlearn and relearn that the prefix to the word understanding is under. So whose ideology are you under? Who has been telling you to look at life the way you look at it? And that's why everybody's like, get understanding. Well, when you get an overstanding, you get like an overview of what's going on. And so you get a chance to like, wow, Easter bunnies don't lay eggs. Chickens lay eggs. What the hell are we doing every Easter? Like, you know, you start to see things for what it really is. And then the most important standing to get is an inner standing, which is an interpersonal truth that comes from your God, your creator, your God, whatever people want to call that name. But we all know, those of us who know that we're not self-created, that can't control our heartbeat, know that there's another entity that's out there that gives us some kind of power, right? And so it's that inner standing for me that's very, very important to have, because I can be convicted and not just have faith or believe in something. I can know and be convicted in what something is. So that's what that means to me.
Whenever we create our own opinions on different things that happen, it's you know, lessons that we learn from people, from our mentors, life experiences that we have. So this idea of inner standing, was there a specific event that happened that made you go internally and start to look at things in a different way? Did you read something? How did you come up with that idea?
Well, I just remembered always that we, like everything we do in society, has taught us to look without instead of looking within. And when I was going through my transition of leaving football, I didn't recognize my value. So I would never know my worth. When you don't recognize your value, you'll never know your worth. So all that stuff comes from within. Your value system comes from within. But if your only value is you're a pro football player, you're an athlete, well then once that Rodell is taken off your head and the cleats are gone, the shoulder pads are gone, now you have absolutely no realm of where you fit into your own life, but then into society as well, right? And so that was where I started to unveil, like, damn, I really am someone outside of being a pro football player. I'm greater than the game. And that was the foundation of understanding for me. And that's why I wrote being great. That's why I wrote Greater Than the Game, because of that.
as we were doing the intro real quick, we were talking about that movie National Champions that's coming out and the idea of paying college athletes. Where do you fall in that idea? You played college football. You were a 3-time All-American. I heard that you had like 26 sacks your senior year of high school. So you were a bad motherfucker on the football field. Take us back to that time in your life, and if that debate was out there, how do you think you would have responded, on a deep level to that conversation about college athletes being compensated?
Well, I mean, athletics is the doormat to every university, right? And football being the big dog, right? At the end of the day, everyone else is getting paid. So why not pay these young people? And why not start early? And this does not even have anything to do with being a professional athlete, because only 1% of them are going to make it to that next level anyway. This is about just real, true economics. Why not teach the student athletes early on what to do with money and how to work and how it really works, what to do with credit? And this is how you know you're dealing with a system that doesn't care about you, because they'll teach you about everything else except for what you need to know. They'll teach our children in elementary school now about LGBT community, but won't tell them about what food to eat. They'll teach them about, they won't tell them about credit or taxes or insurance. So I think, it's absolutely imperative for them to get paid, but also put some protocols, put some objectives in there to help them learn how to manage money and the power of how to leverage it to be economically autonomous.
You and I had a conversation a month ago about all the bullshit that we're learning in school and the bullshit we're not, or the real stuff that we should be learning and that we're not learning in school, right? So if you had an opportunity to go back and rewrite the education that you received in school, what would that look like? What would you have learned? You mentioned financial literacy to being a part of what school should have been like. What other lessons do you wish you learned as you were growing up in South Florida going to school?
Bro, many. Wow. The first thing I would want to learn is how to connect with nature, how to plant food, how to cut down a tree, how to go out and kill a deer if I need to eat, right? Let's teach our babies real life skills. You have grown men, bro, that can't even put jumper cables on a car, man, let alone change a tire. So, but they have a 4.0 GPA in school, and they have a master's degree, but you don't have any knowledge of what the true master gave you on how to live your life. And if they shut the grocery stores down, what are we going to do? Many people aren't going to have the opportunity to go out in the forest, in the woods, and live. If it came down to that. So imagine if you got those skills in school. Let's shift gears. That's the nature side. We live in a society where it's politics, right? If you ask the average voter, what's the job description and duties of a senator, a congressman, a governor, a president, a mayor, a solicitor, a councilman, they will not be able to tell you, bro. This is the average voter who sits down and watches CNN and Fox. They don't even tell us about that, but you want us to go vote. Like, give us the info. So you want my credit, you want my social security number and my zip code to tell me my credit score so you can see my stewardship and how I take care of money. Why don't you teach me about the Fair and Isaac Company in school? Right. That would make sense to make a society better. In Denmark, do you know they pay the students to go to school? Maybe they incentivize the students in a different way. Maybe don't give them money, but incentivize them in a different way, right? I mean, that's a world that I would like to see when it came to education. Really educating and informing the people on what they need to have in order to be a positive pillar in this society, as opposed to, just a sheep.
And we talk about it a lot on the podcast, and for your audience who will be joining us for this, education, it's so much now about getting in line, raising your hand, shutting your mouth, doing what you're told. It's putting kids inside of a box. So school and education are not synonymous. They are not the same thing. And it's one of the reasons why I decided to leave education, and my brother as well, because we were creating cookie cutter kids that were doing what we were telling them to do and thinking what we were telling them to think. We talk a lot about, if you're going to learn by doing, learn by being involved in some type of a stewardship or mentorship program where a coach, a mentor, someone, there's an internship where you are learning by actually doing something. And it could be starting a business at a young age. It could be, think about this too, as parents, we're putting away money for college right now. And I'm not saying, college is a bad thing at all. But I'm gonna say my kid's college, if they don't get a scholarship, it's $150,000 for 4 years of a college. How many parents are gonna say to their child, tell me something that you're really fucking interested in right now. Tell me something that you're really passionate about. I'm gonna give you money to go and start a business or learn something, invest.
Yeah. Right.
Who does that shit, right? Nobody does that shit.
And think about how valuable that would be, and like how you'd get to the root of what they actually want, right? And then I also look at it and I'm like, why don't we learn this stuff? What's the reason for that not being accessible? And part of me feels like people, they don't want us to know that and be self-sufficient, because there's not money in that, right? Like we can't be worked when we're thinking for ourselves when we do it.
Hey, man, the money's locked in the fantasy. The money's not locked in the truth, because if the money was locked in truth, more people would tell truth. The money's locked in the fantasy. Oh, if you're not married by 35 with a white picket fence, a dog, and 2 children, you haven't made it. And then once you find out that the American dream is really the American scheme, you're like, oh my God, 80% of the people that live this quote unquote life are miserable. Half of them are fat and don't care about their temple because they're stressed out, because they go sit under a light every day in some corporate job that they just hate. Job meaning jump out of bed just over broke. Even in the Bible, Job in Hebrew means persecution. Come on, man. It's these people, and this is the one thing I want people to recognize, is that the people who are in control of what's going on, they tell you right in your face what's going on, but you just don't want to listen because they telling you a job is Job. Persecution. That's why I'm a firm believer that we have to do work, not just work a job. You have to do the work. And no, most people don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the inner work. Then we're talking about understanding again, because we live 3 types of lives, man. We live our public life, our private life, and our secret life. And in our secret life, that's only between you and your creator. But that's when you can go within and be like, dang, man, Steve, you did some bullshit today, bro. You come on, man, you better than that. Right? You can do self-inventory. You can talk about your integrity. All these words start with IN. Intellect, integrity, self-insight, boom, boom, inspiration, information. And I've been very, very diligent in looking at how some of the most important words in the English language start with IN.
Absolutely. I have them written down here. You have intimacy, inspiration, insight, integrity. Those are just things that you have said on different podcasts or on your own channel. What a deep way to think about it. So think about going inside then, that idea of going in. You had mentioned things that you had read in the Bible, Job in particular. Were you spiritual or religious growing up? Was that part of your upbringing to that being a part of who you were?
Yeah, is ice cold? Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. I grew up super religious and indoctrinated and institutionalized. And it wasn't until I lifted the veil and I was able to see that the pastor's standing in a pulpit and he's been pulling me into a pit instead of lifting me up and lifting God up, for that matter. And so I'm standing in a pulpit. Why would they not call it a holy stage? I think we talked about this briefly. Why wouldn't you call it a holy stage or a righteous platform, right? We want to call it a pulpit. Everything about that word is low vibratory. But so when you start to really, like I said, unpack everything that they put right in your face, then you're at a place where it's like, dang. And the reason why I do what I do with television, I call it television, is because the only reason most people want to hear from you is if you've been stamped by society. If you don't have money in your pocket, a degree on your wall, or driving a nice car in a nice house or on TV, nobody wants to hear what you have to say. So it's unfortunate that we have to play this game. And this is a race thing here. Nobody will want to hear from me if I pulled up in a pickup truck. Oh, man, but Bill Gates can pull up in a pickup truck and everybody will brag about it. Nobody will want to hear from me. Or Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett drove a Toyota Camry for 30 years. Okay, I can't do that and get the same fanfare. I got to pull up in the Bentley so you know I'm on my shit. Other than that, you're like, bro, I don't want to hear from you. Where'd you get your degree from? This is the world that we live in. People are just impressionable. Right? See, it's all there, bro, right in our face. And so when you combine all the 5 power structures, political, social, economic, education, which we're talking about, and spiritual, you see the same trend of just keeping the people separated. I keep you separated educationally because I don't really educate you. I assess you and separate. Oh, you're in the magnet, you're AP program, you're in the honors, and then you SLD or you're ADD. So I separate you. Then and socially, well, you didn't pledge this fraternity or sorority, or you're running a football team, or you're not popular, or your parents don't have money. Oh, so I separate you again. Then you come back and economically, that's easy. You don't have a check, I do, so I can't be we're not on the same level. And then spiritually and politically, I mean, I can easily keep people distracted if I base something on a democracy and not theocracy. I'm a theocrat. Whatever the universal God says, that's what I'm gonna say. Can't just listen to right wing, left wing, and I recognize that it's only one bird.
One thing that we talked about the one time that when we had our phone call, one of the things that we talked about was there was so much that we had in common, even though we were, I grew up in Jersey. I grew up in a white middle class family. So the way that I identified everything about what I was learning was coming from that background and that schema. You grew up in a very different background, a very different family, and yet we were able to come together on a lot of issues, and we talked through a lot of cool things on the phone together, never having met each other. So I would say that's possible for people to come together even though they're separated by, gender, by race, by a million other things. So where do we start, Stevie? Where do we fucking start to bridge that gap?
The solution for me is to be what you want the world to be. Model. If I model exactly what it is that I want the world to be, and you do the same thing, and we're going in the same direction, this is obvious. And I tell everybody all the time, to your point you just made, every one of your color is not of your kind, and every one of your kind is not of your color. Because this is spiritual stuff we're talking about. Yep. We're not talking about exterior. We're talking about what's your mindset. And in the middle of the word mind, here you go again, I-N. See, so your inner looks just like my inner on a spiritual level. And even though we might not process all information exactly the same, I know that, man, you know what? Man, Dennis and Anthony, they my brothers in the invisible world. You see what I'm saying? And that's a beautiful thing. And if all 3 of us model what we want, and then we create more people that do the same thing, because a true leader don't create more followers. A true leader creates more leaders. So we start creating more leaders with modeling what it is that we want. That's the solution, bro. Because other than that, you can't fight against an establishment that has a 2,000-year head start on keeping you asleep.
Absolutely, man. I love that.
Yeah.
The way that you're able to bring us into that conversation as well, Stevie, truly appreciate it, because one, that idea, be what you want the world to be. There's not class lines, there's not race lines. It's basically it's coming from in. Again, that those 2 letters are so fucking powerful, right? And I also believe you mentioned before about, having this level of people to support you, this brotherhood, this tribe. And I do believe we need a tribe of men as men to help hold us accountable, to help push us, to help us become the best version of ourselves that we can be if we're going to be the world, what we want the world to be. So I'll take the opportunity to go back a little bit into your past. Your mom she ran a women's etiquette group for a local orphanage. So she talked to young women about that. So talk to us a little bit about that, and then I want to get your insight into what should men have heard during that time. So first, tell us about your mom.
Yeah, my mom. Shout out to Mom Dukes, Lola Robinson. yeah, when I was just about to leave high school, she started, mentoring these young girls. And I was in college. I had a full ride scholarship. And throughout my whole matriculation in school, I'm like, man, Mom, why you doing that, man? You give, I'm being a self-entitled, young man, teenager, about to be 20 something years old. And I'm like, I got a full ride. You're spending money on them. You could take that money and I can get some new J's, right? Like that's where my mind was at, right? Just so ridiculous. Not recognizing the beauty in her being able to plant seeds in some other young people to help them change the way they think based on their exposures and their experience. That's the only reason we think the way we think. It's because we've been exposed and we've experienced certain things, and that's where our truth lies, right? So we started the Cedar Foundation after my senior year in college because I started speaking at middle schools and high schools when I was in at Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach. And it was the most rewarding thing ever, man. Walking there with my jersey on, these young people going crazy. And it's like, dang, they love me because of a jersey. But then when I started to have a conversation with them, you could tell that I could say the same thing that the teacher was saying, but they received it better from me because they're paying attention to the mascot and not the message, right? Which is what most people do. We paid attention to the mascot, Obama, and not the message. He's signing executive orders to keep us in bondage. He did more things for every other sector of people, and he didn't even do it for his quote-unquote own. So that's a whole nother story. But moms just was a pillar for me, an example for me to be able to give back, man, and show the importance of being able to leverage your position to be a light in someone else's life. And so that's why we started Cedar Foundation. And I'll tell you, I think that as a man, having someone come do something like that to teach us men's etiquette, hey, man, you walk on the outside of the street, when you with your lady. Hey, man, I see men in the car with their lady. They sitting in the car, a girl out there pumping gas. Like you just don't see men really standing in their virility or standing in their divine masculine energy anymore because everything is inverted. And so it takes people like us in conversations like this to be able to like spark, like, hold up, man. This is how you change a tire, young man. This is how you cut the grass, bro. You see those lines? You see how I lined it up and I came back and this is how you do that, man. But bro, this is like a lost cause because they're telling you that they can create a robot to do it for you. This is the world, you know what I'm saying? This is the world we live in, man.
And not only that, teaching the young men how you do anything is how you do everything.
100%.
So you either fucking half-ass it and that's just how you're going to live your life, or you fucking line up the lines when you're mowing the lawn and you take pride in what you're doing. That's a life lesson that all these kids need to learn right now.
Absolutely, bro. It's because of the sense of entitlement. And generationally, it's gotten worse and worse. Like we have a level of entitlement in our age bracket. The people before us had one. But now the sense of entitlement is so bad because of so many reasons. And the only way that you undo that is like you can do small things. Don't give your child a tablet or a phone. Make the ass go read a book for real. If you're going to cry, go ahead and cry it out. But your ass going to read this book. You're going to take out this damn garbage. You know what I mean? You're going to get off that tablet and stop being in a trance.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then boom. These children know how to use the tablet better than the mom and dad. They'll go in there and unlock the parental settings on you if you are not on point.
That's almost been the parent, is the tablet and the TV and the phone. They're getting more parenting from them than they are their actual parents.
Because I got to work so much to try to keep up with the facade of my child is straight. My child has nice clothes, and we have a Christmas tree with all kind of gifts up under it. Man, come on. I mean, really, y'all? You get these babies love every day. Do you mean to tell me you're going to break your neck to try to get them a PlayStation 5? But they do it every year. And all these corporations going to black and you in the red and stressed out. You know how many people die every year in the fourth quarter from heart attack, heart disease, heart failure because
or
they stressing
suicide,
about.
or even suicide, right? That's probably the most like prevalent time during the course of the year, during the holiday season.
I can't get my babies what you know how people always like, I'm gonna give my children what I didn't have. But don't give them what you didn't have in the physical. Give them what you didn't have in the spirit, in the invisible world. Those are the principles and qualities that they need to have. If you're at a place of awakening here, why don't you feed that into them instead of saying the only thing I'm gonna do is give them tangible things, and it's gonna run out, you know. And it's your presence, not your presence.
Totally agree with that. And here's the other thing: as you're talking about the way what kids are not learning, how to change a tire, how to jump a car, how those types of things. I also thought, Stevie, this will definitely lead us down a deeper path as well. Just as men, how we're showing up as men. So I think about our father's generation and our father's generation. It was, you know, they were very stoic. They were hard ass men. They worked. They did the fucking tough things. They went to war. They rolled up their sleeves. They fought for what they believed in. But they didn't know how to deal with the emotions. So the emotions got stuffed down, and it came out in, you know, abusive type situations. It came out in drinking and drugs and things like that, or not being able to handle emotional situations. We've went so far in the other direction where now men are these gooey, mushy, soft guys who are so far into their emotions that there's not the strength that they need. So my question is, how do we find that middle ground where you're strong, you're capable, you're steadfast, you can do those things as a strong man, but you're also able to be vulnerable and share those, how you're feeling on the inside with your loved ones and those who depend on you?
So check this out. We're all born with androgyny energy, both masculine and feminine energy. But your nature, when you come out, and if you have a phallic penis, then you should do penis things. If you have a vagina, then you would do vagina things. Ego, and the only way you do this is you look at a man's anatomy. A man's anatomy is outer, that's ego. A woman's anatomy is inner, that's why she's emotional. And the only way for us to relate and coexist inside of that dynamic is for a man to be able to be masculine enough to be able to tap into his feminine energy. So like you might hear your mom say a certain thing, and you know, man, mom, I cannot tell moms that she's gonna trip out, she's gonna go crazy, she's emotional. I can tell her the truth, but not tell her in a way to make her emotions spike. That's being able to tap and use both your masculine and feminine energy. Boom. And I always tell people, if I step outside of my ego and am able to understand your emotional, where you're coming from emotionally, look, baby, you got it. All right, cool. Boom. But I'm still standing on who I am as a man. It doesn't mean you're going to domesticate me, because like I was telling you the other day, there's a lot of fatherless homes. There's two types of fatherless homes. A man with a fatherless home where the man is not there, and then there's a fatherless home where the man has been castrated and domesticated. And that's what we were talking about, this ooey gooey, happy wife, happy life. No, it's happy us. Stop the fuss. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we, but if you have been, once again, indoctrinated into this thing, man, like what's you guys' nationality? Like your ethnicity, background.
So Italian, German, we got some Lithuanian in us. It's like a milkshake of shit overseas.
Okay. No, it's all good. But you're not Roman, right? You're not Roman.
Well, we have some Italian in us, so there's some Italian.
Okay, so this might work for you. You're gonna love this. A woman can't expect me to be romantic, because I'm not a Roman. She can't expect you to be Hebrew because you're not Hebrew. But it doesn't mean that I won't open your door and treat you with respect. You can't ask me to be a gentleman because I'm not a Gentile. It doesn't mean I won't pay for the date and protect you if we're out. You see what I'm saying? But once again, I'm going back to the power of language and what happens when everyone is not able to relate to one another, and that's why the relationships are off. We've been taught to call ourselves certain things and do certain things just based off of what society has given us. So if you stay inside of that space, oh my gosh, you're always gonna lose. You've never seen, have you, fraternities and sororities, and you have the black fraternity, right? They're all Greek. None of them are Greek people.
Right.
You've never seen a European person say he pledged Hebrew. You've never seen an Asian person say he pledged Egyptian. But you got melanated people walking around with Greek symbols on them like a cow, branded. That's crazy. But when you start questioning these things, you become alienated, right? Because you're an alien. You think different than most people do. You think different, you talk different, you look different, and I'm okay with that. But it doesn't mean that we can't have this conversation.
So if we're going to rewrite that whole Greek system in college, it's all about feeling a part of something. It's about community. It's about thinking you're involved in something that's larger than yourself. And I know I played college baseball. My brother played college football. That was our group. We did not pledge to a fraternity because we already had that group built in of men that we were around that were playing the same sport as us. So how do we rewrite that script to allow opportunities? People are just looking to feel connected to something larger than themselves.
Right. But why does it have to be put in a box?
Right.
Why can't and I always talk about community. The reason why we don't live in communities is because in a community you control your police, you control your food, you control your economics, you control the education. And if you don't believe me, go to Disney World. They have their own police, they have Disney dollars, they have Disney education. You got to go to school for X amount of time before you get a certain position there. So that's their own community, right? Us, we live in neighborhoods. So what I do with a hood, I put it over your head to hide the truth on what's really going on. So when I'm hiding the truth from you, you don't really see 360 what's going on. And that's why the overstanding is big to get to the understanding, because that's how you can rewrite it. Because then you recognize that community is the most important thing. And inside of that word community is unity. There's no unity in any of it. It's everything that they give us is meant to keep us separated. Oh man, you cheer for Alabama, well, I cheer for Georgia. You know, it's like even down to the smallest little things, it can separate us immediately. And it doesn't mean that we all have to think alike and do everything exactly the same. Because I always say, you don't have to think like me. I just want you to think like me. I decided to think. That's what changed my trajectory. Yep. You know, and it keeps me open to receiving more information, because the more that I know, the more I know what I don't know. So I'm like, damn, Anthony and Dennis can teach me something. Let me grab whatever they have to feed me. I'm going to put in my tool belt, and then I'm going to give them something to put in their tool belt. And now we having what they call a fellowship, because a ship brings things to and from, and we're all fellows. So we're having a fellowship. If the parts on my ship don't connect to the parts on your ship, we can't have a partnership. If the things on my ship don't work with the things on your ship, we can't worship together. Worship. So it's all there, right? When we really start to really look at how this thing is been manipulated, it's like it's almost laughable, man. It's laughable. You know how you can laugh so much till you cry? That's what it is. It's like, damn, these motherfuckers are genius, and that's funny as shit. But god damn, they killing the people. Like, why is everybody sick in America? What are the foods? Why are our food, what's different in our food than our grandparents and great-grandparents' food? Well, they ate from the farm, and y'all eating from the pharmacy. If you close your eyes and say farm, it sounds exactly alike. But the ambiguity in the English language, this bastardized language that we speak, is so ambiguous. And it's like the serpent in the Bible. It moves in between the truth and the lie. But the rod of truth is straight as an arrow. So if you need nourishment, go get you some greens and some minerals. If you know what I mean? But no, they want to say, and don't get me wrong, Western medicine has helped in a number of ways. I do want anesthesia before I go to the dentist. But at the end of the day, I don't want something that you just made in the lab last week, and you're telling me it's going to save my life, when I have an immune system that I can go consume herbs and bioavailable nutrients to put into my system to save my life at the same time.
And that's how, again, you fight against this system, by being healthy, by being independent, by being able to rely on yourself. And I know for me, when we had to quarantine, right, when we were forced into our homes, I had no other option but to look inward and actually figure out who the hell I am. And like, what's crazy is, for the first time in my life, I started to actually see what's happening around us. And it was like, when I opened up my eyes, I almost got sick from it, And so, like, my question is, was there a moment when you looked at something, you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense? And all of a sudden you start looking at media and you're like, wait, they want me to fight against them. Wait, when really the person, I like to say that we're like ants, red ants and black ants coexisting inside a little jar, and the media is someone shaking it up, and we're fighting amongst ourselves in there, but really it's the person who shook up the jar that we should be looking at. So like, what was there a moment in your life that opened up your eyes to be like, shit, this doesn't make sense, and then you just dove in head first?
And it happens every day. I'm telling you, bro. I evolve daily, and there's been instances where the light bulb hit on religion. There was a light bulb hit on certain foods that I was consuming, or economics. But I'm getting these same premonitions every single day. And to your point of the quarantine, when you can sit still, you can hear, and you can see certain things that you couldn't see when you were moving. So if anything, the quarantine gave most people in the collective, especially when I speak to people in the collective, they're like, yo, I've never been more spiritually grounded than when I was when we were in quote unquote quarantine. You know what I mean? It gave me a chance to really go connect with the Creator. It gave me a chance to go outside and put my feet in the grass and get grounded. Like, you know what I mean? Things we didn't have time for when the world, man, I got to make this money. I got to pay these bills. I got to go pick up the baby from school. I got to, you know what I mean? Like, all this stuff you got to do. But I will say that, you said something so important in there about, I don't remember exactly what you said, but I had a point to it, man. That was pretty cool. But I don't know. I do know that the spiritual awakening that I got during COVID was very similar to yours, man. And it was a beautiful thing to be in that space.
The other thing
what was your question though again?
I was just saying no, you're good. Don't worry. I was saying if there was a specific moment that opened up your eyes to all the shit that's going on around us right now, because I think you're not the normal, right? Everyone's like zombified in these little, again, we're like compartmentalizing these little labels, and we're putting people into these little boxes, and your way of thinking is not only how you take down that system, but how you, again, fight back against it. And so, like, if there was a moment that was like, wow, this doesn't make sense to me, and then you looked into everything else.
No, the point you talked about the
ants. Yeah.
So I have an acronym for this word: multi-ethnic destruction in America. Multi-ethnic destruction in America. That's media. In Asia, in Antarctica, in Africa, in anything with an A. And the only way I can destruct you is if I distract you with the bullshit. So like you're saying, hey, Trump over here, Obama over there, Biden over here, race war here, George Floyd over there, right? I got your mind all over everything. Oh, don't forget, the Grammys is out. Oh, boy, they got championship football. It's amazing to me how we can get so distracted so easily, right? Ohio State played Michigan the other week. It's 110, 15,000 people in the stands. I didn't see them say one thing about COVID during that. And you got people out there with their shirt off with a big M on it. Can't he catch COVID faster than anybody? But this is what we live in. We live in a system where they say the Fighting Irish running on the field and damn near the whole team black. Think about this stuff, guys. We live in a system where a person will go get a nanny to change their baby diaper, but they'll go pick up their dog shit outside. You know, so everything they giving us, the Nobel Peace Prize is named after a man named Alfred Nobel. Alfred Nobel is known for creating dynamite, man. So the Nobel Peace Prize is named after the motherfucker who created dynamite, bro. Think about this, man. We like everything they give us is bullshit. And so when you start stapling these things to the wall and pinning them to the wall for the people to see, you have people who literally can see truth, taste it, feel it, touch it, and still will ignore it, bro. And that's where I'm at in my life now. I'm so passionate, especially when I get around people who think like me, because it's exciting. Because you're around so many people that are just man, the Walking Dead,
Yep,
bro. Like you said, zombified, man.
Yeah, that was a good. I like that, Anthony. I like that line, zombified. I also think COVID caused a lot of us to go inside. You talk about the word in, and I know for myself that's what happened to me. I took a really hard look at the life that I was leading, what I liked and what I disliked about myself, and I recognized there was a lot that I was not proud of, a lot that I didn't like about me, and it caused me to do that journey inside. I lost 40 pounds during quarantine. I got divorced during quarantine. I'm sure the divorce numbers are off the charts during that time. But it was looking at the shit that I never wanted to deal with, and now you have to deal with because you have to sit alone with your thoughts. You have to sit alone with those inner demons and take a hard look at them. What I love that you talk about, Stevie, is that you don't take things at face value. You don't take things and say, well, this is the way it's supposed to be. You put it up on the wall and say, let me fucking look at this thing right now. Let me think about it how I want to think about it based on my background, my experience, my family, my upbringing, my education, not just because I see it on CNN or Fox News or whatever the case is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. And I think that if we did that more, then we'd have more peace. You know, everybody wants to talk about peace, but then nobody wants to talk about the war. Like it's like, damn, bro. Like, you know, there has to be a war if you're talking about peace. Somebody had to win or lose this war, and so you're talking about the war within, because we all have polarity. Everything has polarity. You got peace, you got wartime, but inside of us, we have a peace and a war. We have the righteous side, and we have the lower side. And here's what I've come to the conclusion of so far in my life path, in my life journey, is that there are people who are hell-bent, that wake up and they're just hell-bent on destruction. They're hell-bent on vibrating low. I'm going to shit on somebody today. I'm going to get over on somebody today. I'm going to fuck some shit up. So, and they, don't get me wrong, they have a light side too. They chose to be on the lower end of their polarity. Then there's people that choose to be on the higher end of their polarity. You see what I mean? And that's why I recognize that the most important man is not an alpha man and it's not a beta man. It's a sigma man. And that's the man who could be a lion and roar when he needs to. Just because I'm a lion, I don't need to always roar. Sometimes I need to sit back and just let my lady do her thing. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I can sit back and just analyze the situation. But if you come in this motherfucking lion's den, I'm going to take your head off. You know what I mean? But everybody wants to be an alpha male, and you always out front and you always roaring. And that's something that I'm learning daily, bro, to try to keep in, because I'm so passionate with what I do. But it's been a really, really cool thing to be able to do that. To be able to say, like, damn, let me just chill and be a Sigma man. It doesn't mean you're castrating me or domesticating me, but it does mean that I know how to walk in my virility when I need to. But that's what I'm saying about the inner war that we face within ourselves, of polarity of the high and the low. It's just there.
So you come across as one of the most confident men we've talked to on this show by far. And the way that you present yourself, I want to listen when you're speaking. And it's funny, one of the things that you talk about, you use, and I'll let you go into it, but it starts with infiltrate. So tell us about, like, go in that direction real quick, because I got a kick listening to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Infiltrate, educate, liberate, and vacate. A lot of people infiltrate, educate, and assimilate to the system, when I think that we should infiltrate, educate, assimilate, No, infiltrate, educate, what's the other?
Liberate.
Huh? Liberate and then vacate. I have so many damn words in my head. Vacate. And that's the beautiful thing that we've done. Like you guys have been in education, right?
Yes.
And this is the amazing thing about when they say iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, and will sharpens will. Because there's some things that I'm a neophyte at, and you guys are a master. Or Dennis, you might be a master at something that Anthony and I need help at. And then I might be a master at something that you got. And then Anthony might come give Dennis and I some information. This is iron sharpening iron and steel sharpening steel. Because you guys have infiltrated the education system. I infiltrated NFL and TV film. And, and we all have our degrees, right? What does a degree mean? You only 1 degree high. You're not even 90 degrees. You're not even perpendicular. A Mason is only 33. He's not even 90 degrees. You're not even upright. So they give you these degrees, these false degrees, and make you think that you've achieved something and attained something, but you haven't. Because you infiltrated, educated, and assimilated. And if you infiltrate, educate, liberate your mind, liberate your spirit, liberate your thinking, then you can vacate. Because why does it have to be the red or blue pill? Why can't I take both of them? Or why don't I don't want any of them in the matrix? Or how about I take them right now and I'll put it in my pocket and I'll take it whenever I need it. You know what I mean?
Fuck those pills. I want a steak. I don't want to fucking give me a steak. I want to fucking
right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't need pills.
As we were talking, and we went to the infiltrate, educate, liberate, and vacate.
We just started writing down.
Oh my god! I went to almost what was it? Was it Coming to America with Eddie Murphy when they're there and the preacher's up on stage, and I was thinking, man, Stevie could fucking play that role in a remake of it where placate, assimilate, confiscate, eradicate, investigate, elaborate.
It just starts going.
We were like, let's think of every fucking word that ends with 8.
That was our prep for the.
I was like, ejaculate. Anthony's like, don't fucking say ejaculate. Don't fucking say it.
But that's you got to get that pressure off you, man. You got to get the pressure off you sometimes.
That's what you do before you go out. It's something about Mary. All right, so in that respect, so I started to go down the journey of saying just your level of confidence that you don't feel like you have to be this alpha male in a situation. You're comfortable in who you are, in your skin, in a really authentic way. We all have that negative self-talk that happens. We talk a lot about that inner critic that talks to you, that says that negative shit in your head. What does that person, that inner critic, say to you? Obviously, we all have that person. So going into your fears a little bit, Stevie, like what is that inner critic talking to you about when you have those demons that are coming out in your head?
As I ponder on that, bro, I want to be very careful how I answer this question, because like people are not vulnerable enough to say, man, I fucked up, bro. Like, damn, I should have done better in this situation. And I think that the one beautiful thing about where I've evolved to in my life is that in every bad situation, I try to still even see the good in it. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely do try to see the good in every bad situation. And then when things good happen, I also see, well, damn, I know I didn't get here by myself for the good shit. Because it's like, if something good happens in our life, man, I'm self-made. I did this. I worked hard. But if something bad happens, it's everybody else's fault. Man, my business partner was bullshit. My baby mama was fucked up. My wife is on some bullshit. Boom, boom. But the way I've started to grow is to do this self-inventory thing and say, bro, you could be more empathetic. Bro, you could be more sensitive to the way you used to think, right? Because when we evolve to where we are in the way we look at and process information, sometimes you're like, I can't believe these motherfuckers are in the line at McDonald's, bro. Like, really? And sometimes it can come across like soapboxes. You know what I mean? And you're saying, so for me, I think it's that. Like I always am questioning and what I put in my temple. Because the way people look at you, they're gonna look at you a certain way based upon how you take care of your temple. So like that's probably my biggest thing is the health. And like I love chips. Chips is I run through a motherfucking bag of potato chips in a New York minute. But I gotta be like, damn, bro, stay off the chips, man. Like, chill. You know what I mean?
What's your flavor? What's the flavor of chip? What's your chip?
Bro, I don't even know, bro.
Just chips.
You can take me down there, bro. I don't care. You know, I really don't discriminate.
Oh, it's so good. It's going to be part of the episode, right? We're going to iron sharpens iron in the fucking bag
He
of
says
chips.
like 1,000 truth bombs mention chips, and we're going to call it about how his battle with chips is a...
My inner demon is potato chips.
It's a bag of Lay's, yeah.
But it's kind of like we battle anything else, like how you battle with a woman or with women, right? Or how you battle if I had a drinking problem, how I would battle with that. If I had like all these things, those small little nuances, right? They, like you said, they turn into and morph into like these habits. Like if you want to separate a successful person from a failure, the only way you do that is by looking at their habits. That's the one thing that separates a successful person from a failure. The same things that failures don't like to do, successful people don't like to do them either. They just get in the habit of doing it. I didn't want to go ride in 40-degree weather, 20-something miles on my bike today, but I got in the habit of doing it because I knew that I ate some bullshit yesterday watching the game. You know what I'm saying? And like if I got to balance this thing out, and at the end of the day, if I don't do that, and then I wake up and I'm like, I don't look the way I want to look, or I don't feel the way I want to feel, I can't point the finger at the person who made the potato chips. I ate that shit. That's where I'm coming from with it.
And real quick, you mentioned the game. It was Steelers versus Ravens last night. I give Harbaugh all the credit in the world. He went for it. He's got some fucking nuts. You got a fucking sack on him. They didn't get it, but I give him all the credit in the world for going for it, for going for two.
Yeah, that was a big move.
I think he feels like they're gonna see them again, maybe down the road. I don't know. Or at the end of the day, he probably is like, bro, you know, you damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? If they kick it and then boom, they go into OT. Now it's like, well, and they lost in OT. Well, you should have went for two, right? It's like, and I mean, for the pass to be this close, this far away, I mean, it hit him right in the hands. I mean, I think Lamar could have just like flipped it a little bit more to him. But at the end of the day, I played for Harbaugh, and he's that kind of guy, man. And he's one of the top coaches that I played for, you know, in my career. So and I love him for moves like that.
Yeah, me too. That's amazing. And you got one of the greatest athletes in the history of the NFL with the ball on the 3-yard line. I love the call. So it took us 55 minutes to get to me asking you about your career in professional football. So we want to honor your time as well. So tell us a lesson or two that you learned during that journey. You know, you played on several different teams, and you talk about only less than 1% of the population can even get to that point. I mean, it's a very, very minute population that can get to that point. There's more billionaires in the world than there are professional football players. So, you look at it not like chip on your shoulder. Oh, I'm not starting on this team, or I didn't play for several years on one team. You're like, I was blessed enough to play at a high level. I'm one of the most gifted athletes in the world. I take this, and I truly am proud of myself for it. So tell us a lesson or two that you learned from your experience playing professional football.
Bro, so many. In my book, Greater Than the Game, I have 7 F's: faith, family, fitness, finance, focus, forgiveness, and football. Football was one of my greatest teachers because not only does it teach you life skills, but you got to deal with the emotional, the spiritual, the economic, the stress of everything. And then you deal with the highs, right? And then you got to deal with the lows. Like when you get cut and released or traded, or you balled out. Like one year, I led the CFL in sacks, forced fumbles, and I had the most tackles out of any of the defensive ends that were on the docket with me. They gave my teammate on the other side defensive player of the year for the CFL. I had won defensive player of the year of the week. Like 7 times in the season. It was like unheard of. I won Defensive Player of the Week like 7 times. Well, they gave it to him, right? Because the coaches had to vote on it. Your head coach turned in a name. It wasn't league-wide vote first. It's the coach first, then that. People don't even look at the politics behind stuff like that, right? And that cost me money because when I went back to the league, had I been the Defensive Player of the Year, I would have gotten a certain amount of check if I was Defensive Player of the Year from the CFL or not. So the reason why I'm saying that is that, but football taught me so many different lessons. I mean, I when I went to Canada and played, I met some of the most amazing people in the world that helped lift the veil on how to look at life. But the biggest thing that it taught me, and I talk about this all the time, is that NFL stands for niggas police, not racial, because the word nigga means ignorant. In the dictionary in America, it means ignorant. And if you're ignorant to the system that you're in or that you're a part of, you'll always be for lease. So nigga for lease, NFL. 3 years is the average career of a football player. 78% of those players end up broke when they're done playing the game. So that system must be doing something right with the name NFL, not for long, niggas for lease, because so many people are for lease because, let me tell you, they don't know their value, bro. And that's why even your star players who are Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, the only thing they can do is stay connected to football. If it wasn't for commentating or coaching football, half of these guys that were your heroes wouldn't be able to do anything. Think about it. You know, and the ones that do other things outside of that, they're never celebrated in the same light. Because I don't want you to see the intellectual greatness that you have outside of the game. I want you to stay in this box of just being a football player. Don't get me wrong. Some of my greatest coaches played in the league and came back and gave back to us at college. And I love what Deion's doing. But I had three NFL coaches on my staff when I was at Bethune-Cookman that played in the NFL and literally came back and gave back, information to us. You know what I'm saying? But because it's not their name wasn't prime time, they didn't get the same recognition.
And it's such a good point. Yeah, and when you think about it, the way as athletes and at a much higher level with what you were doing, your identity is tied to the sport that you're playing. So when that is taken away from you, Anthony and I were talking about it before you came on, the shelf life for an athlete, it's a very short period of time. So you could be an NFL running back and be at the top of your game, and you only played for 5 years, something like that. Your body is broken down after that point, and your identity is attached to playing football, and it's taken away. What's next? What do you do then? Now you're 27 years old. Either you had a hardship playing, there's an injury. You might not have learned financial literacy, and you're broke. And then what? Then what happens at such an early age where you feel like you're washed up and you're retired? So it's how do you help young men develop an identity and develop a sense of themselves beyond what they're doing on a field?
Exactly, right? I mean, it's something to me that once again is a part of the program to be able to get the money back to the people that are paying them. I remember Vince Young. When he came out, quarterback out of Texas, he had his uncle or one of his cousins be his agent, and at that time you only needed a bachelor's degree to be an agent. They changed the game and said, well, now you need a master's because I want to keep the money in here and end up like it with my people or with my system. They bring people in the locker room to show us homes or suits or jewelry. These people literally will come in the locker room, man. These are stories of you can ask any NFL player. These are stories that happen all the time. Like why does that happen?
And how many times are they bringing someone in that's going to talk to you about long-term investment and instead of flashy shit in cars and how to manage your money and how to invest properly and thinking about your life after football, not just those 3-4 years doing flashy shit.
Exactly, bro. No, never. But that's the thing though, man. And that's why it's unfortunate. And I always talk about this. It's like, you have when I was in the league, they had the rookie symposium. Now all the teams are responsible for bringing in a vendor to try to give these young men some sort of enlightenment around how to spend their money, how to operate off the field, how to deal with women and everything you think of, right? Well, and so who I don't know, they pick whoever they want to pick, and usually it's bureaucracy involved, of course, but the thing that's the most disheartening for me is like when you're done playing this game and you see guys that made millions of dollars or guys that were household names and now they can't even walk, or they can't even have a conversation, or they've killed themselves, or they're on drugs, or they dealing with domestic violence, or like, and bro, I'm gonna tell you, I was dealing with my own depression and anxiety when I left the game. Of like literally trying to figure out what's gonna be next. And nobody wants to talk about the depression and anxiety that we deal with just as men in general. But when you're playing a sport like that, where everything is based on being as macho as you can be, and that's what I'm saying about the balance of it, right?
Yes.
You can't be so macho all the time that you burn out, and then you can't be so emotional that you let your lady just run over you and you're just mushy. It's a balance, man. The sun got to rise and it has to set. Even the sun needs some rest. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy. But does the sun ever rest? Because when it's dark over here, right, it's light over there. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think that there's just people that have been chosen to be a light in the midst of darkness, no matter what. And you can kind of feel it. You can kind of tell who they are. You can feel what they stand for. And I'm just happy to be able to, be a part of that collective with you all, man, because you all represent that in my eyes, truthfully.
Truly appreciate that. And Stevie, you are a light. You absolutely are a light, and your message definitely will resonate with the Building Men audience and what we're doing and what we're trying to push forward here. We truly appreciate you. I feel like we just scratched the surface here talking to you right now. I want to get you back on for another episode in the future. Then we could get into the acting career and go down that journey. We could pick it up. But until then, Stevie, tell us where we can find you. How does the Building Men audience reach out to you?
Everything is at Stevie Baggs Jr. STEVIEBAGGSJR. So Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's all there. And my website is StevieBaggsJr.com, www.StevieBaggsJr.com. So you all can reach out to me there. And you guys are very, very the way your style is, the conversational vibe is amazing, man. I really appreciate being on here with you all.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure. We enjoyed the last hour or so with you, and looking forward to connecting again. Anthony, any final thoughts?
Yes. I mean, dude, I think you dropped enough one-liners and truth bombs in this thing that I have this for a lifetime now. I'm going to have to look back and get a notepad out and, write everything down because literally
partnership, worship.
Oh, my. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. But what's one thing that maybe our audience can do tomorrow to take the steps necessary to changing their life to living what they want? What's one thing they can start tomorrow and do?
Oh, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro? Anyway, I would say this. Tupac had this thing a line that said, change the way we live, change the way we eat, and change the way we treat each other. I look at it like, if you change the way you eat, it says change the way you eat, change the way you live, change the way you treat each other. If we change what we consume, not just with food, but 360, what we consume with our eye gate, with our ear gate, consumption 360, you will change the way you live, and then you'll also change the way you treat other people. I think that's something that we can do functionally right now, and make a difference. And so, just think about changing the way you eat, changing what you consume every day, and you'll live different.
It's good stuff. I love that question that you ask, Anthony. I love that that's a closer question all the time. For Building Men,
huge.
It's good. And here's the thing: as we listen back to some of them, no one has given the same.
Not one person has told us.
It's always something different, something that you could do tomorrow to change your life. And some people we've heard, just say fucking no. Just be able to say no. Somebody's like, go outside and walk for 30 minutes
and breathe through your nose.
Somebody's like just all little things like that as you listen to all the episodes, you can jot down these things, all these things collectively. That's a big fucking game changer right there too. So,
bro, next time we do this, we got to really dig into the health side of everything. Because I think once we tap into that, that'll be a very, very big component and big reason on why everyone's so calcified.
Oh.
And that's why I say what you consume. Because all this imagery, we know whoever controls the image controls the mind, controls the ideas, controls the thoughts, controls the actions. And that's why people do the things they do, because what they've been consuming. So I love that question. I love those other answers too, because you just have to say no. I mean, it feels amazing to go just take a walk. One thing we can tell the men, when you go use the restroom, try to hold your pee at least one time a day. When you're in the midstream, hold it to help your prostate and help your libido and help, you know what I mean? Your testicles. Oh man, it's so many things we can hit on that's right there, low hanging fruit.
I'd love to go back and talk at some point, having you back on and talking about nutrition and decalcifying our pineal gland, and man, I could go off for days, dude. So like whenever, because I'm all in on that. So thank you.
Thank you guys, man. Peace and power. Y'all stay aligned.
We absolutely will. So to find the Building Men, find us on Instagram, building.men, buildingmencoach@gmail.com. There's a retreat coming up at the end of April, Building Men audience. It's called The Hero's Journey, April 28th through May 1st in Lake Tahoe. So reach out to us if you want more information. Stevie Baggs Jr., we truly appreciated the last hour plus with you. Looking forward to having you on again. Go one step further than you thought you could go. We'll see you next time on Building Men.